take us, no, not to your screen. Why did that do that?
What? I just started recording, so I don't know if it did something.
Okay.
Oh, and now I have the software now. I can share my screen. Apparently now. I couldn't before.
So do you guys want to say hi to your people in turn, or just start chatting?
What is today? Today, what, Sunday? Today is Sunday, September 22nd. Is that right? 20. Hang on, let me see. Yes, it's the 22nd. Yes, I thought so. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, so Julie asked us about that overdose situation in Pittsburgh. Yeah. And I guess there were a lot of conspiracy. I won't use the word theories, but people thought it had to do with the wristbands, the orange wristbands that they were wearing. And some people thought, oh, they were maybe laced with drugs or something. But
the orange wristbands are like, nightclubs will do that now. They'll have them printed up specially if they know user group is coming or they're doing something. They'll have them printed up specially and stamped, so you can't fake them. You can't.
Lots of venues
will do that, and then it doesn't really matter if somebody gives it to the wristband or somebody else, as long as they're not underage when they go and come back. As long as the wristband is the wristband, it's on somebody's wrist. They check their ID, they've paid to get in. Somebody else paid the wristband.
I mean, when I went to the UFO event in Washington State, where Captain K appeared, and I got to hear Captain K for free.
Were they giving out wristbands? Is that why you brought that up?
Well, because it was at a park, and it was there were other events, things going on. I just paid to get into the park, but because there weren't enough people really attending the UFO speaking event.
K?
Yeah, they said go ahead and go in, and I just stood at the doorway and listened to his crap. I was just laughing, and there were teenage college girls standing there snickering, and we're all just laughing at it's just ridiculous stuff he was saying.
So what happened in where was it? Pittsburgh?
Yes, Pittsburgh. The overdose. It was and people were saying it was the South Side. I'm not familiar with Pittsburgh, so they said there are a lot of nightclubs in that area, and all men. So they probably gone to a club, and then that's why they had the wristbands. Right. And then they went to an apartment where one of them lived, or at least one of them lived, and probably did some drugs that were laced with fentanyl, and unfortunately, not all dead, but fentanyl is very powerful. And there's also what is it, carfentanil, which is even stronger. That's an elephant tranquilizer, and it's really deadly. So
it's hard to say exactly what it was, because I mean, also club scene, ecstasy is a big thing, but ecstasy is, it's a gamble. I mean, I did X when I was in fucking college, in 1985.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very, very few people really knew about it back in those days, but it was still a fucking toss up when you got it. What kind? Who did it?
Drug, yeah, you don't know where to get it.
Right. Huh? So I mean, huh?
Yeah. Well, you don't know what you're getting with street drugs, and they're often contaminated with other things. And I know locally, I saw there was a case where I think a couple who had a young child, they decided to celebrate. I don't know, somebody got a new job or something. I don't know what it was. And so they celebrated by taking some drugs, and I think they might have even just been smoking weed. And even marijuana, street marijuana, can be laced with fentanyl or carfentanil. Yeah. So you don't know with street drugs, you do not know what you're getting.
Typically, it's either PCP or somebody gives them spice and tells them it's fucking weed.
Yeah, you don't. Street drugs, it is a real gamble. You don't know what you're getting.
It's a terrible situation. I don't know why people would be curious about it. I mean, it's multiple fatalities from one private party. It's rare, but that's usually because they don't do it all at the same time. They do it, one will been doing it for a while, and one will do some, and then an hour later somebody else, and an hour later somebody else.
Yeah.
So if something happens, it happens to one of them. It doesn't happen to all of them at the same time. That's what's odd about this, I guess.
Yeah. You don't see like a mass overdose like that usually.
That's why I think maybe it might even be X as opposed to, because everybody at the same time can go, okay, here we go, pow. When you fucking shoot up heroin,
right?
That's a whole process, and to have 7 rigs going at the same time. Not that I've ever shot heroin, but to have 7 rigs going at the same time, that doesn't happen. I mean, it's rare. I mean, maybe they all did. Maybe they all had their own fucking rig, but so that's why I think maybe it might be something like ecstasy or something like that. But who knows? Who knows?
Well, as I said, it could be any street drug. You don't know what's the other thing that freaked out Julie was she and JP were at a coffee shop or something. And she said, official-looking guy walked up and was offering that antidote to what narcotine. I forget the name of it that brings people back if they've overdosed. And she just was suspicious because of that. And I don't know. It might have been just somebody. A lot of times I think the cops or whatever, they will distribute that stuff. I think if there's been a bad overdose or a lot of overdoses in an area, it could be that they're just taking precautions. Yep. I think maybe in her mind, she was thinking that this overdose had been deliberate. But, I don't know, with the street drug and, like I guess, I don't know, the CIA and its history with, flooding areas with, or what. Yeah. So I don't know. Who knows? But I don't know. But I think sometimes they will take precautions and distribute a lot of that narcotine or whatever it is. If there have been a lot of overdoses in an area, I don't know.
Right.
I'll be right back. I just have to climb off my bed here for a minute.
My dog is freaking out.
I'm trying to get.
I'm sorry? I'm sorry, what?
What?
No, that was him going. All right.
He looks like 2 dogs. He looks like 2 dogs.
It's me. It's me and my dog. Thank you very much. I know I've been letting myself go, but I don't think I look like a dog quite yet. All right, so what do we want to talk about today?
Okay. Well, Abdul did a video about the Israeli election, so maybe we'll talk about that.
Okay.
And I think he knows more. I haven't followed it closely, so. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, first of all, when is the election? What's the date on it? And then who is the guy who's in the deadlock with him? Okay.
What?
Yeah, he's got a bad history, doesn't he?
Yeah. What's the name of his party again? Did you say blue and white? Oh, blue and white as in the flag. Yeah. Okay. Blue and white party. Okay, got it. How about the red, white, and blue party?
So how much time is there between now and when the election takes place?
Yeah. They're judging by the exit polling, the result. Yes. Yeah. And it's complicated. It's really politics because it's just always a coalition of a bunch of parties. So it gets complicated about who forms a government and that sort of thing.
So they're both like ultra conservative, both the blue and white party and his. Is Likud still what?
No.
Oh.
I don't know what else. So it looks like from the exit polling that Netanyahu, Bibi, is behind.
Yeah. Fix that.
I
know. So, but you don't think, however it goes, you don't think that's going to mean any kind of better situation for the Palestinians? Do you think there'll be less of these Operation Cast Lead, Operation Pillar of Defense? Do you think there'll be less of that? Less outward institutionalized IDF aggression towards Gaza, or do you think it'll be the same? How about his his stance on foreign policy? Do you think the bombings in Syria will continue?
know.
So we'll have to wait and see. You gonna do an update video on that when they announce this? Okay. Is that something that the Muslim community is watching? Is something that the Muslim community is concerned with, like in places like where you are in the UK? In uh, what were you laughing about there, Aunt Bibi? Something
I was
straight.
laughing that Abdul is the official spokesman for the Muslim community in the UK.
No. He's not the official spokesperson for the Muslim community in the UK. He's the official spokesperson for the Muslim community in the Three Eyes group. Just between the three of us, he has his thumb on the pulse much more so than I do, and probably more than you do. So I'm going to say I'll defer to him on that for that.
Oh, shit. Okay. Whoa, damn it. My computer opened another tab. Jeez.
A porn tab?
Get out. No. Oh God, you really like today. What the heck is going on? Jeez. I think you didn't do a video. You didn't do a video yesterday because you did a deep dive into porn.
Deep dive. I was watching John Holmes fucking videos all day, getting madder and madder.
Apparently, I think so. I think you are.
Feeling more and more inadequate every time I watched a fucking video. God damn it. That's fake. That's fake.
God.
So, what else are we going to talk about?
Well,
let's talk about China. Let's talk about China. You know, in a video I was talking the other day, and I was trying to think of someone's name who I respect and have a lot of respect for, and one of my viewers sent me an email, and they sent me a link, and I'd already seen the article.
Oh.
It's Pepe Escobar. And I have so much respect for Pepe Escobar.
Oh.
But he said, well, I used to be in Hong Kong and blah, blah, blah. And there's a lot of people in Hong Kong who really want change and they want revolution and they want this shit. And he was doing the same fucking shit that Luke Radowski was doing. And this guy who sent me this, said, I don't know, Scott, what have you written? I'm like, what have I written? I've talked about this shit. I've said go watch fucking BB stuff. Let's talk about what's going on with Hong Kong for a bit, if we could. And I'll start it off by saying one name, Greta Thunberg. Now holding up fucking writings talking about, Russia and Hong Kong, let your children protest for global warming.
Did she?
Oh yeah.
Russia and Hong Kong. Oh God.
Yeah. So she's they're cross promoting, and that's what they do. That's what NGOs do. They cross promote.
Yeah. Well, I discovered by glancing at Jamila Rakib's Twitter page, and she is the head of Gene Sharp's Albert Einstein Institution, the Color Revolution Institution. On her Twitter page, she was promoting Extinction Rebellion, an Extinction Rebellion event where they were going to show how to start a revolution, I think. Yeah. Gene Sharp's, yeah. So I realized that the Extinction Rebellion and Greta Thunberg is another color revolution. And then when I saw Serja Popovich, who's connected to Gene Sharp had mentored Serja Popovich, who was part of the overthrow of the Milosevic government in Serbia. He was promoting Extinction Rebellion and Greta Thunberg too.
Yeah.
And that pretty much confirmed it all. Yeah. That whole, So color revolutions galore. So I didn't know that Greta Thunberg was cross-promoting with Russia, where they're trying to overthrow Putin's government. They've been trying, and then the Hong Kong protests. Yep. So it's all connected. Everything, all these things are connected. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's also a pattern, and it really is. I mean, I did a video a while ago talking about Epstein and of course the young people in Hong Kong, but now we can bring in Extinction. What is it? Extinction Rebellion.
Rebellion. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's all the kids. They all use kids.
They're all using kids, and this is now. It seems to be a trend in these NGOs to go younger and younger and younger. I mean, there was one thing that Greta said about, well, we really want your kids your kids should sacrifice their education to save the planet. Yeah. And I was thinking, how fucking diabolical is that? Try to get children to refuse to go to school to get their education, to put that shit on hold. And how long would it take? Would it take a month? Would it take a semester? Would it take you have a whole bunch of fucking kids being put back a year?
Yeah.
Because of this fucking shit. That's some diabolical child abuse shit. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Fuck yeah.
So,
It is child abuse.
and in Hong Kong, and yeah.
Right. Right. That's what it is. That's
That's
exactly
why
what it is.
I'm starting to call the Hong Kong color revolution, the protest, the riots, the pedo revolution. I'm
Good.
calling it the pedo. Yeah.
How come as soon as the word pedo is introduced in our conversation, why is that?
Oh, speaking of kids, remember that sex cult I talked about in a video? The freedom high or cunts. I said the word. I didn't realize I saw Jeff J. Brown's China Rising blog, and he posted those images of that guy I talked about in another video, Brian Patrick Kern. Remember him with the hipster haircut? I didn't realize in the images he's wearing one of those freedom cunts t-shirts. Wow. And I had not noticed that.
Wow.
Yeah, here's a guy who's handling kids.
He's supposed to be a teacher, right?
Yes. Yeah. And he's wearing one of those t-shirts. I didn't realize it until I saw Jeff's blog. I'm going, oh my God, I hadn't noticed that. Hey, it's not, there I saw an image, a picture of a kid. This is how bad they're exploiting the kids and making them feel like their education isn't worth it, even their lives. There was a guy, a boy holding up a sign saying, I want to die so that the planet doesn't. I've
seen videos of girls like crying.
Yeah.
And not fake crying just so they can be like, I've seen that shit too. You got a bunch of fucking opportunist little kids out there right now wanting to be the next fucking Malala or the next Greta. Who was the one from Syria? Bana? Right.
I love that,
so, you got a bunch of that shit. But I've seen videos of little girls legitimately fucking crying because they think these assholes have been telling them, you're gonna turn 18 years old. You're not gonna have a fucking a life and go to college. The world will be burned up. It'll be filled with water. You're not gonna have anything. You gotta do something now.
Yeah.
I mean, these people, whoever's telling them that shit, should be arrested. They should be arrested.
Yeah. And in Hong Kong, they arrested a boy who was 10 years old protesting or rioting.
I saw that. Was he the one who was crying on the fucking ground?
No, not him. But there was another kid I saw yesterday or day before. And so they're using kids as young as 10, probably younger. And they're telling them to boycott. They've told them to boycott classes to keep the protests going. And they protest at the schools, and the parents are getting pissed off at their kids being used in the Hong Kong schools for protesting instead of getting an education.
And if this is effective at all with passing the fucking neoliberal, globalist fucking Green New Deal or any of that shit, if this is effective at all, you'll see them use this over and over again. There'll be kids staying out of school protesting until they snatch up daddy's guns. I mean, they'll be doing this shit over and over and over again. They'll be using these fucking kids. That's just vile to me. It really is.
Yeah, they used to use kids in the factories back during the Gilded Age. Remember, it's the same thing. Same thing going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is. And then I did that video about Egypt because I thought that looked fake. And so I think, we talked about that, and you found some very interesting. I didn't know the reasons. It just looked fake to me. The protests against Sisi.
Mm-hmm.
Conveniently, as he was leaving the country to go to New York for the UN General Assembly.
Yeah. But again, there could also be Al Sisi doing that. I've looked at other videos, and the vast majority of them are military-age young men.
Yeah, after you mentioned that, I looked, and yes, they are.
In a country where it's illegal, and they will arrest you and disappear you.
Yeah.
For protesting on the street if you don't have a permit to protest. That's what al-Sisi's government is all about. They have arrested 10,000 fucking Muslim Brotherhood members and just basically disappeared. They just arrested 3 months ago. I did a thing talking about how they arrested 5 people for trying to start a centrist fucking political party. They literally just filed paperwork to start a centrist party, arrested them motherfuckers.
Yeah.
So you ask yourself, in that kind of environment, in that kind of country, why are these young men out there feeling the need that they can have nothing on their faces? And they know they're being recorded. They know there's cameras all over the place. Why do they feel like they can get away with that? Mm-hmm. That's a good question. It's very possible that al-Sisi is doing this so he can then round up opposition members and get them arrested and see if we're the ones behind it. Why? I mean, who knows what it is? It does look very suspicious to me.
Yeah, I know you were thinking of doing a video or something, but maybe you're waiting to see what's going on. I don't know. I know you found a lot of interesting things that might explain, but it's hard to tell. I just could tell that it was fake. There was something weird, like this whistleblower, Muhammad Ali, blowing the whistle on Sisi's corruption. Okay, we didn't know that already.
There's been reports on his fucking the mansions he has now, the money he has now. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like Muhammad Ali called for protests in the streets on social media, and instantly there were protests on the streets.
Right.
And the U.S. Embassy knew in advance there were going to be protests on the street. And the mainstream media is talking about the protests. So as soon as the New York Times is talking about the protests, and the Washington Post, and I think the Guardian, I can't remember, and they're using the same wording too. I know I mentioned to you, they're all saying, they're calling these protests rare. Like, why are they always using the same wording?
Right.
I don't know, like rare. Oh, these are rare.
We did find where that they have al-Sisi is our puppet, and he was installed by fucking John Kerry because Morrissey was pushing it, had created the constitution that was anti-neoliberal. He had kept putting back the IMF and putting back the IMF, saying, "Yeah, I'm going to do it." And then as soon as the constitution was signed, the austerity measures in the IMF loan were illegal. So he couldn't because of the constitution. Yeah. And of course, John Kerry and Barack Obama didn't fucking like that and didn't think that was funny. So he had to go. So al-Sisi was our puppet. He's been our boy. And he's been pushing austerity measures and all of this shit and doing the right stuff. However, we talked about this, Barb and I did. You dig a little deeper, you scratch a little below the surface, he's also getting mighty close to the fucking Russians. He's certainly getting really close to the Chinese. And I mean really fucking close to the Chinese. He's taking money from the Chinese. The Chinese right now, the biggest investors in fucking Egypt. He's taking money from them as opposed to IMF fucking money. And he's already got S-300 systems, and he's thinking about the S-400. That's a big no-no.
Yeah.
That's a big no-no. They don't want the S-400. No.
Egypt's biggest export market is China.
Yeah.
Too. And, I had people, after I did that video, there were people who were saying, it's probably Qatar. Because Qatar doesn't like how Sisi treated the Muslim Brotherhood or something. I don't know. These are like Egyptians or people in the Middle East are saying. So I don't know.
It's also that Egypt participated with Saudi Arabia in the. It wasn't a boycott. What is it when they block off, barricading off part of Qatar? From Saudi Arabia.
Oh, yeah. There was.
Egypt was involved in that as well.
Okay.
But again, in terms of it might be us doing it. The last thing I wanted to bring up, and we talked about this, was that Egypt refuses to shut down the Suez Canal to the Iranian tankers.
Right. That was interesting.
Which we really want them to do that, and they refuse to fucking do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-oh.
What the fuck happened? Did a gremlin jump in there on him? What happened?
Something. Ah.
Did one of his hostages escape?
He is a hostage. What are you talking about?
If one of your hostages was trying to escape and came through your... What's that? Shut up.
Oh, I just realized Opto's looking kind of like a Bangladeshi Uncle Fester right now. With the shaved head. Remember Adam's Family, Uncle Fester? He's got the H.A. Goodman look now.
That's what I was going to say. Looks more like H.A. Goodman than fucking
That just dawned on me with the shaved head.
It's because the camera angle and the shaved head, he looks like H.A. Goodman. Yeah. It makes you look younger. It's good. Yeah. What? If we wanted war with Iran, we would already be at war with Iran.
Yeah.
We don't want war with Iran because they know that it'll ignite a shitstorm over there. What they want is for Iran and the people of Iran to be either sanctioned into wanting to change leadership, so they will change foreign policy, or they want the leadership to, and the oligarchs, the people who have the money and control in Iran, to say this is costing us too fucking much. We got to move on from this to something else. That's what they want. They don't want to. They don't want all out fucking war.
They don't want boots on the ground. They don't want bombing campaign. It's irregular warfare now.
Right. There could be another. Yeah, there could be another green revolution like Hillary ran when she was Secretary of State. There could be one of those, but in all likelihood, it's not going to be successful. I had heard someplace that the next presidential election, Ahmadinejad was considering running again. Have you guys heard anything about that?
No, I haven't heard that. No.
Yeah, I had heard he was considering doing it again, running again. I don't know if that's legal there or not, or I assume it is if he says he's considering it, but that would be interesting.
Oh, that rings a bell. Well, no, not that he's planning to run again, but I just had seen some mention of him in connection with WikiLeaks, that he had Ahmadinejad had said that WikiLeaks was a threat to Iran because it was demonizing Iran, and yeah. People think that WikiLeaks was such a great thing. Well, there is some truth, but they were pushing out a lot of propaganda about countries that were targeted, like Iran. Yeah, yeah.
He does what? What?
Yeah. Well,
WikiLeaks, the thing that Bradley Manning or Beatrice Manning or whatever her name is, Chelsea Manning. The whole thing is that was supposedly leaked by this low-level nobody who knew nothing. The whole thing about that was they were State Department cables for the most part.
I remember. Yeah.
And then, as it came to pass, lo and behold, all of a sudden, someone started noticing cables that were coming out after Bradley Manning or Chelsea Manning no longer worked there anymore. And they said, oh, there must be a second leaker, but of course that was all hush-hush. They're just State Department cables. And the State Department cables are not something that is vetted intelligence. You know, it's just theory. It's just hearsay. It's just this. It's just that. It's my man on the inside in Iran said, and that shit goes out. And of course, WikiLeaks then publishes it. Yeah. And then of course, New York Times is told, hey, go look at WikiLeaks, this thing right here, and write about this. That's how this propaganda she was talking about ends up working its way into the popular vernacular, the popular discussion, right? So that's the purpose of WikiLeaks. That's what the purpose of WikiLeaks has always been from the beginning. Yeah, it's a disinformation dissembling. Is that the right word? Organization.
Disseminating.
Disseminating. Thank you very much. It's a disinformation disseminating construct. That's what it's always been. That and a honeypot. If real whistleblowers get something and they say they contact Julian or whatever, he says, yeah, hang on a second. Come meet me in the fucking embassy. Meanwhile, he's got all these Spanish guys hooked up with globalist fucking intelligence agencies, recording everything. And that guy has his thing, gives him his information, goes out on his business, has a heart attack 3 days later, and that information is just gone. That's what WikiLeaks is. Just so you know, tossing it out there.
I know whenever I criticize WikiLeaks and Julian Assange on Twitter, that Iranian guy, Mehdi, I don't know. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He always likes that when I criticize WikiLeaks because, you know, he knows that Iran is being demonized and he doesn't like that. WikiLeaks demonizes Iran and he's in Iran, I guess, or...
Well, they did that. They had the Assange files. They had Libya files. They have done that to every fucking place that we have tried to color revolutionize and force regime change. They have done that. They have been part of that. So that's what they are. That's the structure there.
And I call him Jesulian Assange. Jesus, like Jesus. Jesulian Assange now. I should call him the prophet, the WikiLeaks prophet.
What was I calling him? I just have that
Saint Julian.
The Gospel of Saint Julian. I put that up on everyone.
Yeah, I know. I love that image.
And they're still pushing that shit, man. They got Roger Waters out there. They got that fucking behind that shit now. I mean, goddamn, really? People saying, someone said, oh, they're torturing him to death. Yeah, where is he? He's at this place. Can you see him? No, you can't see him. I guess not, because it takes a while to get the fucking private plane from fucking, you know, the Bahamas back down to fucking London and put him in the fucking cell so you can meet him.
I get people blocking me on Twitter. You know, they'll be following. I get people who follow me and like the stuff I'm saying. And as soon as I start criticizing Julian Assange and WikiLeaks, boom, I'm blocked.
That's identity politics.
God, boom. I mean, they'll follow me and they like what I'm saying. And as soon as I do that, boom, blocked. God.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame. Speaking of identity politics, what's going to happen with the election over here? Well, first of all, before we do that, what's going to happen with fucking Brexit? What's going to happen on the 31st?
Oh, yeah. Brexit's a mess. I think it's all behind the scenes. I think that's
yeah. Do you think Boris Johnson is going to do you think he's going to survive if they don't deliver Brexit on the 31st, or do you think he's gone? Yeah. See, there was another guy. There was a younger guy who had his hair combed. He looked actually halfway decent. I forget his name, but he was going to be running for it. But they just kind of did what they did, and they just made this guy, this clown dude, the fucking prime minister for this particular. Yes.
Jeremy Hunt.
Right.
Your image froze up, though. Your image froze up for me anyway. Oh, now you're unfrozen. Okay. Yeah, you froze up there. Okay.
So my guess was they want him after October 31st or whatever. They want him to move forward and lead the Conservative Party. But they know whoever they put in after she left, they knew whoever they put in was going to be hoisted on their own whatever. Was going to be fucking crucified.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to give people what they want with Brexit. They're just not going to do it. So my guess is Boris Johnson was the sacrificial lamb tossed out there to run this particular part. Then once there's another delay, or I've actually heard some liberals out there saying they should do away with the 50th Article 50 altogether, right? And say that Article 50 doesn't apply anymore, and so we don't have just 2 years. We have as much time as it takes, and they'll just drag it out indefinitely for years. Right. Right. Can you get a feel on the ground for whether the majority of the people that you know would support a hard Brexit or don't want Brexit at all? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, people were depressed about it, I think, because there's somebody else on Twitter that I was interacting with, Polly Ticker, I think I think he's in Scotland. And he said, frankly, he's so distracted with that Brexit mess and he's depressed over it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, well, I think people want to live their lives and they're just sick of this mess. And yeah.
Is there any kind of disruption? Are there protests? Are there demonstrations at all taking place? Do you see any even on a small scale, local scale? Anything? Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to mention Jeremy Hunt. He was what was his position? Foreign minister?
Foreign
Is he
minister.
still? I don't know. His wife is Chinese, and a lot of Chinese were intrigued by that. If maybe she was some plant or something in the British government, that was funny. Yeah, she's from mainland China. Oh, and he had studied, or Jeremy Hunt had spent time in China, and they were saying, "Oh, is he some kind of mole in the British government?" That was
Huh, that's a plot.
that's funny.
Who? Tom Clancy? Oh, I didn't know that. My dog is demanding I play fetch, but I got this big ass thing. These things right here, man. Jesus Christ.
What's that? Oh yeah, I gave you that. Yeah, that's
You know what
the
that
thing.
is? You know what that is? That's Oprah Winfrey's butt plug.
No, there's a bigger one. Didn't I send?
Now, see, I thought you'd like. There's a bigger one.
No, wasn't there another one that I gave you? It's black and it's bigger. No.
I thought you would like that, Big B, because you would give me a hard time about all the sexual references I was making.
Butt plug. Oh, that's Buttigieg's nickname. Yeah, Buttigieg.
Buttigieg. Buttigieg.
And he's gay too, so butt plug. That's appropriate nickname, butt plug. Oh God.
So, elections here. What are we thinking about?
Oh, well, there's one coming up fast in Canada. But October 21st. Yeah, but I'm not really paying attention.
Does it involve a blackface prime minister?
Oh God.
I hate to say. I mean, I think I'm older than Trudeau. At least I look older than Trudeau. But my fucking life, I've known blackface is not a good idea. And I'm growing up in the fucking South, and I still know it's probably not a good idea. He did it for a Halloween thing or for some kind of party.
Yeah.
He did it 3 times. He did 3. I saw 3 different blackface pictures. Not just him, 3 different pictures from that night, but 3 different blackface get-ups altogether. He did it 3 fucking times.
I know, but I've learned. I've been in Canada, and it's coming up close to 3 decades. And when I came here, so there was a lady who I guess she would be kind of on the left. Yeah. And she told me casually once here, when she was a kid, they had a black dog named the N-word. I know. There's some different attitudes about the racism actually in Canada sometimes as far as Afro-Canadians is worse than the US. I'm not kidding. So yeah, she just said it casually, and I'm going, really? Wow.
They don't call it the Great White North for nothing.
There was a type of candy, a type of licorice candy that people bought here, and it's called now Black Babies. They're called Black Babies, but the original name was the N-word, N-Babies. I'm not kidding. This is a candy, a licorice candy in Canada.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. You say that about Canada, but because the community is so much smaller, the African community is so much smaller in Canada, I kind of understand how they'd be behind in catching up with that, because the community is so much smaller, and they'd have to just, we'll keep quiet because otherwise it'll kick us out of the fucking country. You know what I'm saying? Because it was so much smaller. Here, there's so many more African Americans, but percentage-wise,
Okay.
And they don't play down here.
Yeah.
They'll set shit on fire down here.
That's some other stories. Here's another story. Now, you remember the series Roots in the U.S.? About Kente and his, Roots. So they had a program they made.
And they called it the N-word story?
No, they called it was a book. It was like Roots. It was based on a book, but it was called The Book of Negroes. But the story was this African brought over as a girl to the southern U.S. and was a slave in the southern U.S. Now she makes her way to New York. I think her slave master went to New York or something. She was in New York. And then during the revolution, they get the chance to go. Oh, so there were British. And they said, oh, you can go to Canada and be free there. So she goes to Canada. Things are as bad or worse in Canada. So the Canadian version of Roots is she goes back to Africa because it's so bad in Canada. In the U.S., they stay in In the U.S., the African Americans try to stay and improve their lives. In Canada, they go back to Africa. So bad. That was the story. Yeah, the Book of Negroes. It was a series.
Let me just do my real quick thing. The blackface thing I was joking about. Yeah. So when I was young, there's no excuse for him being young and not understanding.
No.
Maybe because of what we just talked about, it's less something he would have known up there than what we'd be sensitive to down here. But that's still no excuse.
No, because in Canada they're really into identity politics, and that would not be approved of at all. Generally, yeah.
I have to say, in all fairness, to put this out there, I have been in blackface before. I have done blackface. I went to James Madison to be an actor, to learn acting. Yeah. I did a director's class workshop scene, and it was on main stage. We did the whole Harold Pinter play called The Room. I think it's Harold Pinter, or it might be Joyce. I think it's Pinter, called The Room, where this guy comes in, and you got these two old people in this fucking room talking back and forth, and in comes this guy out of nowhere, this blind dude out of nowhere, and he sits down in the middle of their fucking table, and they go back and forth and talk about this shit, and he ends up killing him. For some reason, the director decided I would do it in blackface. I was a guy coming into the fucking room. I mean, I'm 6'4", I'm kind of intimidating, so that's what they wanted, so they cast me. But rather than casting a black person, they cast me. Now, the funny thing is, didn't do anything to my hands, and back in those days, I had straight, long, almost bleached blonde, but I never bleached my hair, but almost bleached blonde hair, just pure blonde hair. So in I come with this black face and the blonde fucking hair in my lungs. It's theater absurd. That's what he's looking for. That's what he wanted. But there might actually be someplace a photo, if something happens, and all of a sudden I'm somehow famous, and they all of a sudden whip out this picture. Here's Scott in blackface. I want it to be, I want you guys to have it in the context. I don't want it to be a record. It wasn't my decision. I wasn't happy with it. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They don't understand, and you can't. They can't put it in the right context. Yeah. Could you imagine if they tried to do All in the Family? Now, someone did. Someone did All in the Family on Broadway.
Oh, really?
They did. Yeah, someone did, and I forgot who played fucking Archie Bunker. If one of you guys can look that up, I can't do it with mine, but if you can look that up, somebody, big name actor, fucking played Archie Bunker just recently on Broadway. Yeah.
On stage? Oh.
Yeah, on stage.
Okay.
So, but could you imagine trying to do that show now? The way it was just exact, you get canceled. You would be canceled. Yeah.
I'm looking at.
Yeah, hang on a second. I'm going to try and see if I can find.
I'm looking. I'm seeing ABC restaging of All in the Family, and the Jefferson episodes, live in front of a studio audience. Yeah, just this year. Is that what you're talking about?
Woody Harrelson. Oh, it was Woody Harrelson. Yeah, and it's a tribute. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's on Broadway World. ABC Late Night presents a live 90-minute primetime event. So that's what it was.
Okay. And All in the Family was actually a remake of a British TV show called Till Death Do Us Part. Yes. Originally, it was a British TV show.
Okay. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, it was a British show, Till Death Do Us Part. Wow. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yeah, no, you couldn't do that nowadays. You couldn't do All in the Family on television, and that's the sad thing because people don't understand All in the Family. People think it was about this racist guy, and it was, but the whole that was the whole point. You took this fucking guy with the ideas of the past, and you made him force and confront the changing society around him, and you turned that guy. You made that guy human. You didn't make him into a monster. You didn't make him into a racist or one-dimensional. He was a human, and you came to understand him and to care for him and to care about him and all those people around him. It was a brilliant fucking. It's a brilliant fucking show. And
I was like 11 something when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was an episode where Sammy Davis Jr. appeared because Archie Bunker was a big fan of Sammy Davis Jr. and he wanted to have his picture taken. And so they count down 1, 2, 3, and Sammy kisses Archie on his cheek as they're taking the picture, and Archie's like, "Whoa." That was funny.
Yeah, that was a really good show, and you couldn't do that nowadays.
Yeah, and I was like a kid, 10 or 11, and in school, kids were talking about the show because, people of all ages enjoyed it.
Right. And you had strong African-American characters. It was one of the first, I think Star Trek with Lieutenant Uhura, and of course, All in the Family. Yeah. You had strong African-American characters that were, George Jefferson was he was a hoot, man. Yes. But then you got the first spin-off for their own fucking sitcom out of that fucking show. And that show ran, I don't know how long All in the Family ran, but I know the Jeffersons ran for a decade at least. Yeah. Well, that was a great show. Mm-hmm. So what else is going on, guys, in the news?
Well, well, as far as Justin Trudeau and the blackface, it's just another distraction. And people are saying, why did they bring this out now? Oh, gee, there's an election. Okay, that's why it came out. It's just
October surprise, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
surprise,
then
blackface.
So I don't know if the Liberal Party, Justin's party, gets enough seats. I don't think they'll get a majority. It might be like a minority government with a coalition. I don't know.
So when is this election?
October 21st. And people are kind of there's a lot of scaremongering. Oh no, if we don't vote Liberal, the conservative government will get back in power, and we don't want that. And I'm going, what's the difference? I don't really see any difference in policy. Like, really, okay. Oh, the other thing is there's a new Libertarian Party. Something like the People's Party of Canada. It's a Libertarian Party, and it's a guy who left the Conservative Party. So the Conservative vote is going to be split some there. So I don't know. So I'm not voting, though.
Well, I'm not voting. You guys don't have electronic voting machines, do you?
No, it's just pencil and it's just a piece of paper and pencil. I don't know what did they do in the UK, Abdul? Same, yeah. It's just paper. Yeah. And the booth is just a cardboard setup on a table. But the last federal election, I experienced voter suppression. So I went to vote. I think I went to advanced polling. And it was around lunchtime, I think. And there weren't that many people of us in line. So the rule is the local member of parliament will choose who's going to run the polls in that district. So here it's a conservative, and conservatives wanted to stay in power. So there's just I don't know, less than a dozen people ahead of me in line, and we're all just standing there and nothing is happening. There's lots of poll workers. Nothing is happening. I don't know what's going on. And so people leave because they're discouraged. And I saw what was going on. It took me a couple of hours to vote, which was ridiculous. And I said out loud, I know what's going on here. It's voter suppression. And people were going, what? No, we're in Canada. I know. They said, no, we're in Canada. Or they're looking at me like, what are you talking about? And I said, yeah, this is a classic voter suppression. Because I voted before and it doesn't take that long to vote. So deliberately stalling to discourage people from voting because they didn't want the local conservative member of parliament because people weren't happy with the conservative government. Huh. Yeah.
Well, there's all kinds of ways to do it, but not as. Listen, we lead the country in one thing. We lead the country in fucking terrorism, or the world in terrorism. But we also lead the world in fucking rigged elections.
Yeah.
Like I talked about today. I mean, in my fact, what we do is what we put up with is fucking amazing. Nobody uses these goddamn machines. Nobody. Yeah. No serious, industrialized democracy. None of them use these fucking things. We're the only goddamn ones who do.
But Canada gradually is learning. They look to the U.S. and say, "Oh, we need to do things like that." So there is some new legislation they passed that discourages people. Yeah, it's about voter ID or whatever. So this is creeping into Canadian elections a little bit.
They present the paper and it says the Help America Vote Act, and they got America crossed off in Canada written in with pencil.
They call it the Fair Elections Act. This is they passed Fair Elections Act. Yes, and it's about voter ID, that sort of thing. Yeah, so it's another way of suppressing the vote. Yeah.
A better, slicker way of suppressing the vote. Right.
So I'm looking forward to not voting.
Good.
But I think Jake's going to vote. I asked him. I think he's going to vote anyway. Anyway, I'm not voting. Not happening. Yeah. And I was an observer for the Green Party at the last provincial election, and they weren't doing the voter ID right. And I saw people being turned away. And they were the poll workers weren't doing it right, and they were discouraging people from voting. Yeah, and I said that's not right. But I couldn't. I had no power. I just was observing. Yeah.
So, who do you guys think is going to win 2020 here in the States? If we had to guess, who do you think is going to
win? I don't know. That's hard. I think it's someone with the name that starts with a T. I don't know. I think I got that right. A T?
Trudeau? No, that's not right.
Yeah. Hey, there. Canada's got a leader whose name starts with a T. And so does the U.S.
Yeah.
How about that? Now, the UK needs a T in there.
So who do you think's going to win, Hussein? You don't throw your hands up, huh? It's not going to change anything, huh? Yeah, that's true. That's very possible. Yeah. What was the what's the quote from? It wasn't Ross Perot? It was somebody else. It might have been. Somebody said not a dime's worth of difference between the two of them. Who was that? Not a dime's worth of difference. You guys have heard that before? That was the quote.
That one. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Not a dime's worth of difference between the two of them. Talking about the Democratic and Democratic. It might have been Ross Perot. I don't know. Going way back.
Yeah, I wish now I had voted for Ross Perot. Yeah, I would have voted for him now. Yeah.
That you were enamored with Mr. Clinton.
Yeah, yeah. No, I wasn't enamored, but that's just the way, you had Republicans and Democrats. Okay, we don't want the Republicans. Okay, got to vote Democrat. Okay, fine.
We certainly didn't want George H.W. Bush again, so, yeah. Is there anything else to chat about today? Should we chat about that box behind you?
I know. I'm really distracted.
It's like the size of a coffin.
I know.
It's like the size of a coffin. You got a body in there?
No.
And I see you got it leaned up on. I see you got it leaned up on a door or a window. Is that a door?
Yeah, it's a door. There's a door there.
So what are you waiting?
Oh.
You're waiting for like a certain time tonight. You can open the door and kick the body out. Is that the body jettison system you got worked out there? How many more boxes you got like that on the front porch? You got like 6 or 7 others. It looks like it's ready to go. You just open the door and it's going to fall out and go right. Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know.
So I mean, that's about all I know in terms of what's going on down here.
But it's really disgusting, though. You were talking about Jimmy Dore and Nico House.
Yeah.
There are all these alternative media figures, and they're obsessing about the elections and the Democrats, and they're rigging it again. Like, why? It's all about money. And I think even Caitlin Johnstone, she's talking about the elections. Oh no, they're rigging things. Oh my gosh, like, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Caitlin Johnstone, I didn't realize, I just saw a piece where she wrote about Andrew Yang's freedom dividend, and she took it seriously. She had a totally different take on it, as though, yeah, people won't be working anymore. They'll be just depending on UBI. And she wasn't questioning the whole UBI scheme. I'm going, what? Yeah. Her take was very different from what we've all learned about UBI.
So but it sounds like she wasn't supporting it. She was like thinking, this could be detrimental. Is that what she was saying?
She was saying, we're all not going to have jobs because they're, this is Andrew Yang's argument that everything's being automated or something. So we need UBI to depend on. And I think her argument was, yeah, we're all going to be slaves to this UBI. But she wasn't questioning that. I don't think she was questioning it's like a bait and switch. They give you the UBI and then they take everything else away. I don't think she questioned that part. I just scanned the piece that she wrote and going, what?
All the UBI does is pay all the $1,000 a month pays for is the increase in value-added taxes, or the value-added taxes that are slammed up there. Plus, he was talking about on his fucking website not just one new tax, the value-added tax, starting off at 10%. In 2 or 3 years, it'll be 15, but a carbon tax.
Yeah.
So that $1,000 a month will be chewed up. I mean, it'll be chewed up quick.
Yeah.
So
I don't think she was questioning that. Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to live off of it because the cost of living is going to skyrocket. When they put the value-added tax, it'll go on everything. I mean, what is your value-added tax in the UK right now? 17? Oh, it's not 5%. Did you say 25? Right. Yeah.
Well, we have a VAT, a value-added tax in Canada. It's called the goods and services tax. But then there's provincial tax too. So yeah.
And the thing is, you guys don't realize. I mean, maybe you do from you live there. I don't, but you don't realize. My guess is most people don't realize just how much that really affects the price that you pay for everything. Because fucking Yang comes out there every time he's asked about how you're going to pay for this, $1,000. He goes, the first thing he always talks about is Amazon doesn't pay any taxes, and it's time to make them pay. Amazon won't pay a nickel in value-added tax. They will collect the tax, but they will pass that cost on to the fucking consumer. So they don't pay a nickel for the value-added tax. Big businesses don't pay a nickel for it. They just collect it. And at all.
Right. Well, I remember in Europe, you didn't even know how much the tax was because it was part of the price. So that's another thing, is they hide it.
Right.
Yeah, you didn't even know. That's probably why, Abdul, you probably don't know, because it's part of the price. I don't know how they do it. Okay, yeah. Yeah.
But that's the end user VAT. What we're talking about is, okay, you've got that value added tax. But if say they're making the pack of cigarettes, then they have the cardboard. Somebody makes a cardboard and they sell that to the fucking people who make this. They have to pay a value added tax on the cardboard.
It's part of the supply chain. It's part of the supply chain.
All these things are paid throughout, and that brings the price of the $3 pack of cigarettes now up to $6.75. Yeah. And then at the end, they say, okay, and you got a value-added tax of 25%. You, the customer, have to pay. But you've paid everyone's fucking value-added tax throughout the beginning. That's how it works. That's what I'm saying. People don't realize just how much they're really paying for that fucking value-added tax.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So when people say I got $1,000 a fucking month, and all of a sudden they say, wait a minute, I got $1,000 a month, but all of a sudden now my milk goes from $4 a gallon to $6 a gallon. Mm-hmm. They don't and it's everything.
Yeah.
Right. Right. You'll notice it immediately. I mean, you'll notice immediately because they're going to pass that price on immediately. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And most people would say that's inflation and not realize part of that is that value added tax. Yeah. Yeah. So you're not going to be able. So Caitlin Johnstone is 100% wrong on that. Nobody would be able to live on $1,000 a month. If a value added tax at 10%, and then a couple of years later it goes up to fucking 12 or 15%. It's going to affect not just what they pay as end users, but also what the manufacturers and the retailers pay along the way, along the process. The consumer is going to get stuck with all of that. So, I mean, that $1,000 is going to be chewed up in a heartbeat. You're going to be paying more than $1,000 a month, more than likely for it. Then you add carbon tax on top of that, you'll definitely pay more than $1,000. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. It does nothing. And then, of course, the other big thing it does, which is why Milton Friedman, advocated for it, is that they can say, okay, well, you can have disability or you can have the fucking $1,000 a month, but you can't have both.
Yeah.
The guys who stole, who rigged the fucking economy and with, credit default swaps and destroyed our economy and the UK's economy and economies all across the fucking world, those guys can get $1,000 a month. But somebody on disability or some elderly person on Social Security, for some reason they can't. They got to make a choice, either or. It's just, the whole thing is just sick. Yeah. It's like going back, if we want to round it back up to talk about the kids and how the kids are being used by these NGOs. It's just savage capitalism when we impose it on other people across the world, and people like us sit around and talk about it and say how horrible it is and try to expose it. In the end, it always comes back. The evil you impose on other people will always come back to roost.
The chickens come home to roost.
Yeah.
The chickens come home to roost.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's what's happening. That's exactly what's going on here. Yeah. My dog is eating my chair again. You think I'm kidding? You think I'm kidding? That used to be part of the shield that goes over top of the plastic wheels.
Yeah.
That was the shield.
Oh,
and he's destroyed
it. That's it.
He's looking guilty as shit. He's like,
get his teeth pulled. Get his teeth pulled.
One of these days I'm making a video, and all of a sudden I'm going to go, ah, because the fucking wheels are going to break off of this damn thing. And he's sitting there looking at me like, you're going to pay attention to me now? I better go take him outside, go pee.
Yeah.
It's nice talking to you again, guys. It's been about a month? Over a month?
No, more.
2 months?
Couple months anyway, yeah.
It's good talking to you.
Yeah.
We'll have to do this again. Do it again. We'll try to do it more regularly now. Now that you've shaved your head.
I'm just like seeing a Bangladeshi H.A. Goodman Uncle Fester right now.
You're not old enough to be Uncle Fester, but I do see the H.A. Goodman comparison there. That does kind of work for me.
Oh God!
An H.A. Goodman of color.
a brown H.A. Goodman. He's Jewish too. H.A. Goodman's Jewish too. There you go.
A Jewish guy.
Oh no, I'm an anti-Semite.
They're the ones who started it, aren't they? They're the ones who did the old vaudeville stuff.
Yes, Al Jolson. Al Jolson. Yeah. Al Jolson. Yeah.
Oh, stop it. Jesus Christ. All right, I'm going to have to run.
Yeah.
So thanks again. Let's do it again like in a month. Unless the world blows up.
Okay.
If Greta Thunberg doesn't tell us we can't do it anymore, then we'll definitely do it in next month. But I got to run. Good to see you guys.
Okay. I'm going to stop recording. I will stop recording anyway. Stop recording. I stopped recording.